Imagine this. You're a soldier, part of one of the most disciplined armies in the world. You've seen violence, battle, and chaos. But tonight, you're standing guard at the tomb of a man who claimed he would rise from the dead. You don't believe it. How could anyone rise from the dead? It's just another night on duty, right? Until something happens that changes everything. A soft light starts glowing around the tomb. It grows brighter, brighter than the sun. A wave of fear unlike anything you've ever experienced hits you, causing the ground beneath your feet to tremble. The air fills with strange music, and you hear voices, beautiful, powerful voices, singing from everywhere. You're frozen. You want to run, but you can't. And then, in an instant, the tomb is empty. Could you believe your eyes? This isn't just a story. Pontius Pilate himself wrote this account. Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor who sentenced Jesus to death, felt compelled to report the subsequent events to Emperor Tiberius. His soldiers saw things no one could explain, and they were terrified. Pilate's letter, his eyewitness report, includes details you won't find in the Gospels. The city of Jerusalem was bustling during Passover. Tension was in the air as thousands of people gathered. The crowd demanded blood as they sentenced Jesus of Nazareth to death. But even Pilate, the man responsible for executing Jesus, knew something wasn't right. Pilate could feel it. He hesitated. He tried to convince the crowd that Jesus didn't deserve to die, but the people were relentless. "Crucify him!" they screamed. Pilate, with no other choice, gave in. Strange events began after Jesus' burial. Pilate, fearing the rumors that Jesus' followers would try to steal the body, ordered soldiers to guard the tomb. These weren't just any soldiers. They were elite, disciplined men. Their job was simple: keep the body of Jesus in the tomb. No one was to get in or out. And then, on that fateful night, everything changed. This is just the beginning of Pilate's incredible report. A story that mixes history with mystery, fear, and awe. It's a moment in time where human understanding meets the unexplainable, where even the strongest men faltered in the face of something they couldn't control. We all experience moments when life seems to be crushing us and finding answers seems impossible. We all experience moments when life seems to be crushing us and finding answers seems impossible. In those moments, having more understanding, clarity, and guidance can make a significant difference. The secret of the apparitions of Jesus provides exactly that, a path to clarity and peace through the revelations of Jesus. If you are seeking clarity and hope, this ebook could be the lifesaver you need. The best part is that it is currently available as a gift for you to download in the first comment posted. It could be what you need for today. You can download the gift from the first comment posted, correct? It could be what you need for today. The city of Jerusalem, circa 30 AD, is in a state of tension. Thousands of people have gathered for Passover, the most important Jewish festival. But this year is different. They have just crucified a man named Jesus of Nazareth, a man known for performing miracles, healing the sick, and claiming to be the Son of God. The city was abuzz with rumors of what would happen next. Pressure was high. People knew something big was coming, but they didn't know just how big. Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea, found himself at the center of a mystery that no one could explain 3 days after Jesus' death. Pilate had issued the order for Jesus' crucifixion, but the story didn't end there. Strange events unfolded after a massive stone sealed Jesus' tomb. Pilate himself recorded these events in a report to the Roman Emperor Tiberius, detailing the unexplainable occurrences that shook not just the tomb, but the entire city. Roman soldiers, renowned for their discipline and fearlessness, positioned themselves at the tomb to ensure its protection. Their orders were clear: make sure no one steals the body. These soldiers weren't just there to stand around. They were trained to fight off any threat, no matter how dangerous. And yet, what they encountered at Jesus' tomb wasn't something they could fight. Late in the night, at the beginning of the fourth watch, between 3 and 6 a.m., something strange occurred. The earth shook beneath their feet, and the sky above them lit up with a dazzling light. It wasn't the sun, it was something much more intense. The soldiers later described it as a bright, pure light that filled the air around them. And then came the music, not from instruments, but from voices. Voices echoed across the sky, singing praises they couldn't comprehend. The soldiers, men who had faced death in battle without flinching, were terrified. Some of the soldiers fainted from fear. Others described the experience as dizzying, like the earth was spinning beneath them. They couldn't explain what they saw. What was this light? Where was it coming from? Why were there voices? And then there was the tomb itself. When the light faded and the soldiers regained their senses, they realized that the tomb was empty. The soldiers had rolled away the massive stone that sealed the tomb, revealing the absence of Jesus' body. The priests, the religious leaders who had pushed for Jesus' crucifixion, were desperate. They were afraid, but not because they believed in what happened. They feared that Jesus' followers would claim he had risen from the dead, just as he had predicted. They needed to control the story before it spread, so they bribed the soldiers to lie. They offered the soldiers money to falsely claim that the disciples had stolen the body while they were asleep. Imagine paying off soldiers to cover up one of the most significant events in human history. But the soldiers knew what they had seen. They knew that no human had rolled that stone away, and no man had taken that body. They were witnesses to something supernatural. Pilate had no reason to make this up. Pilate was not a follower of Jesus. In fact, the crowd had forced him to condemn him. Pilate's report wasn't just a story. It was an attempt to explain the unexplainable. The supernatural events that took place at the tomb were beyond the reach of Roman power or Jewish law. Pilate, a man of authority and reason, couldn't control or dismiss what happened. All he could do was record the facts as his soldiers described them. This is what makes the account so chilling. It's not just a religious story. It's a historical document filled with supernatural encounters that defy explanation. During the trial of Jesus, Pilate faced an angry mob demanding crucifixion. The crowd claimed that Jesus had blasphemed, calling himself the Son of God. For Pilate, this was a problem. He wasn't Jewish. He didn't follow their religious laws or understand their prophecies, but he did understand one thing. Jesus didn't seem like a criminal. Imagine being in Pilate's position. On one hand, you've got political pressure. Keeping order in the province was your top priority. On the other hand, there's this man, Jesus, standing before you, calm and composed, even in the face of death. Pilate doubted the charges against him, but he couldn't risk a full-blown rebellion from the crowd. Political necessity, not personal conviction, drove his decision to sentence Jesus to death. But deep down, there was doubt gnawing at him. Something didn't add up. Even after sentencing Jesus, Pilate's doubt didn't fade. According to Pilate's report, after the crucifixion, his wife came to him, begging him to reconsider what he had done. She had had a dream, a terrifying vision that Jesus was more than just an ordinary man. In her dream, she saw him walking on water, flying on the wind, and controlling the forces of nature. She pleaded with Pilate to stay away from this holy man, warning that his death would bring disaster. He publicly washed his hands in front of the crowd, symbolically saying he wasn't responsible for what was about to happen. Roman soldiers guarded Jesus' burial in a sealed tomb. It should have been over, but it wasn't. Pilate's soldiers reported the unthinkable. The tomb was empty. Days after his crucifixion, the man had disappeared. The soldiers described supernatural events, earthquakes, blinding lights, voices from the heavens. This wasn't just a simple disappearance. This was something far beyond Pilate's understanding. The soldiers, terrified and confused, ran to the religious leaders with their story. But instead of seeking the truth, the leaders offered them money to lie. They wanted the soldiers to claim that Jesus' disciples had stolen his body while they slept. This was the official story they wanted to spread, but deep down, everyone involved knew the truth. The soldiers hadn't been asleep. They had witnessed something impossible, something divine. He couldn't dismiss the events that had unfolded. The soldier's report, his wife's dream, and the eerie calm of Jesus during the trial. These weren't just coincidences. As Pilate wrote his report to Emperor Tiberius, he included these details, acknowledging that something extraordinary had happened. Pilate's doubt had given way to a reluctant belief that Jesus might have been exactly who he said he was. Pilate's report ends with a haunting line, almost as if he's admitting defeat. Truly, this was the Son of God. The conviction in his words is chilling. Pilate, a man of law and power, realized too late that he had witnessed something far beyond his control, and in that realization, fear gripped him. Pilate, as the Roman governor of Judea, had one job: keep peace and maintain order. Any rebellion or unrest was a direct threat to Rome's control over the province. The Jewish leaders, meanwhile, were desperate to hold on to their religious power. The arrival of Jesus, a figure who claimed to be the Messiah, posed a dangerous challenge to both sides. His teachings were attracting followers, and his miracles were sparking whispers of something far greater than either Rome or the Sanhedrin could offer. The religious leaders saw Jesus as a threat to their authority. He openly criticized them, calling out their hypocrisy and their manipulation of religious law. Worse, he was performing unexplainable miracles, terrifying them. The people's hold on power would crumble if they began to believe that Jesus was truly the Messiah, as foretold in Jewish prophecy. Pilate attempted several times to avoid sentencing Jesus to death. He told the Jewish leaders to handle the matter themselves, knowing that under Roman law they couldn't carry out a crucifixion without his approval. He even tried offering the crowd a choice: to free Jesus or another prisoner, Barabbas. Surely they would choose Jesus, a man who hadn't committed any crime, over a violent criminal. But the religious leaders had already stirred the crowd into a frenzy. They demanded Jesus' death. The Jewish leaders viewed Jesus as a blasphemer who required elimination. In Pilate's eyes, Jesus wasn't guilty of a crime worthy of death, but refusing to act could spark chaos in Jerusalem. Pilate's authority came directly from Caesar, and any failure to control the situation could be seen as a failure to serve the emperor. The Jewish leaders, however, played their cards carefully. They reminded Pilate that if he didn't act, he wasn't being loyal to Caesar, since Jesus had been called the King of the Jews. Pilate, knowing Jesus was innocent, symbolically washed his hands in front of the crowd, declaring that he was not responsible for what was about to happen. But in truth, no one could escape responsibility. Pilate crucified Jesus because it was the only way to maintain control rather than because it was right. The story of Jesus' resurrection isn't just a historical event. It's a moment in time that forces us to confront the unknown. It challenges what we believe about power, control, and the forces that govern the world. Pilate, the Jewish authorities, the soldiers, all of them were convinced they understood the world, and yet they were powerless to stop what happened next. If this story is sparking something in you, whether it's curiosity, reflection, or a deeper sense of awe, consider hitting that super thanks button right below. Your support helps us continue uncovering stories like this, diving deep into history and bringing these moments to life in ways that inspire and challenge us all. For centuries, people have tried to make sense of this story. Some view it as a miracle, a divine moment in history that forever changed the world. Others search for explanations. Was it a conspiracy, a hoax, or something else entirely? But in the end, no matter where you stand, the story of Jesus' resurrection leaves us with one undeniable truth. It challenges us to rethink everything we know about life, death, and what comes after. No matter how much we doubt or how much we try to control the narrative, the truth has a way of revealing itself. Pilate, despite his doubts, couldn't change what happened. The religious leaders, despite their power, couldn't stop the message of Jesus' resurrection from spreading. And the soldiers, no matter how much they tried to explain away what they saw, couldn't forget that night. This story reminds us that there are forces at play far beyond human understanding. Pilate's report, written with the intent to justify his actions, ended up recording one of the greatest mysteries in history. He couldn't stop it, and neither can we. As we close this incredible journey, remember this: sometimes the most powerful events are the ones we can't explain. The resurrection of Jesus, seen through the eyes of those who witnessed it firsthand, remains one of the most compelling and mysterious moments in history. It's a story that doesn't just end, it continues to challenge and inspire. Thanks for watching. Join our community by subscribing to this channel. Until the next video.